Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. Hang on. I always hate when my voice cracks like that during the intro. Let's try that again, shall we? Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. And welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After revisiting Hitler's Reich last week, we're back here with another new debut on the channel. It's been kind of a new game June, unofficially, as we're playing Machina Arcana by Adreama Games. For those of you who are wondering what happened to Silent War 2.0 by Compass Games, well, setup giving me a headache for Silent War happened to happen to that one. So I went to set it up last night, but I just ended up giving me a headache, kind of made my eyes glaze over, and I was like, yeah, no. Let's not play that. Instead, we're going to pull a game forward that I've been meaning to play anyway. This is one I've been curious about for a while. I finally grabbed it, so we're going to give it a go here. Part of the reason I wanted to give it a go here is there's a new GameFound Kickstarter that's going to be dropping for it in a couple of weeks. So I want to see what I think of it before then, so I can decide if I want to back that Kickstarter or not. So that's what we're doing here. We'll be playing through the first scenario, Horror in the Ice. We've got a very short scenario lined up for that one. I'm using the shorter game since it is my first time playing through. We do have a little bit of setup to finish up, so we'll get into that. First up, we'll meet our character today. We are taking on Kim. We're taking Kim Richards, a gunman, into this. At a cost of 2 stamina with a range of 3. Attack using a white die. Reduce range by 1. I'm not sure what that symbol is. That might be a reroll. Let's see if there's something on the player aid that explains that. No, doesn't look like it. How about in... I'm still also, as you can probably guess, going to be learning the game. Maybe there's something in combat. Something about combat that'll explain that. Because that looks like a combat-related ability. So... see if there's something in here that explains that. Of course there isn't. Right. But there is another thing to note on here, that when adjacent to walls, we increase the attack rolls by 1. A peril limit of 3, 2 will, 5 essence limit, 5 health, and 6 stamina, which I've already got the latter 2 set up on my player board. Then we've got our character. I've got our 3 markers. Decks are all laid out over here. Let's see if there's something in the main rule book that would explain that. But that's my first guess that that's a reroll, but let's see. Okay, nothing here explaining that. Wait a minute, lasting effect. It can be identified until the activating's next turn. Okay, so it looks like that is until the end of the round, from the looks of it. So it looks like we reduce range by 1. Lasts for the round. Right? Yes. And then we've got a little bit of narrative on the back to give us a little bit of backstory on Kim. Enigmatic to the core, it so happened that Kim was found aboard only after the airship had left port. As such, there was no one who could validate her tale or vouch for her character. She told the captain of the secret order called the Sentinel that had been tracking the cult's movements for years. This organization was, according to her, too conservative and passive. Desiring more immediate action, she decided to try and contribute to the cause directly and under her own initiative. The insignia on her shoulders didn't help confirm her story, but her ability to quickly master weaponry did. Her alluring charms were hard to resist, and she proved herself a hard-working part of the crew. Thus, in time, she earned trust and was accepted even by the most skeptical. And then we've got her token here, which will be getting placed out eventually here. I'm just going to check through setup. We've chosen a scenario. Like I said, we're doing a short variant on that. Sort the chapter cards, which I did that already. We're only using chapters 1, 2, and 4 for the short game. With our endgame chapter cards, put them aside, but we most likely won't be using those. Because when the last surviving explorer exits the 4th chapter, game's over, we've won. Chosen scenario deck on the chapter board's bottom card space, so it looks like that should be down here. I keep going back and forth about that. Let's see, monster threat and monster tokens. We've got those on the top part for now. Add events, items, monsters, and explorers of the chosen scenario to their respective decks and shuffle. Let's see. I don't think there are specific monsters for the scenario. Let me go back into the box for a second just to make sure I got everything out of there. Oh, we do have, looks like these are just level monsters. Oh, no, there is actually a what's the word I want? There actually are scenario markings here. Presumably there won't be any special monsters for this scenario, though. But the only way I'm going to know that for sure is to sort them out and find out. Okay. So we'll do the same thing with the level 2 and 3 monsters while I'm right here. Okay. And the level 3s. Actually, level 3s and 4s. So bear with me while I get this all sorted out. What did I do? There we go. Okay. Now we've got that figured out. That's a base level 3. I'm doing the sort off camera here. While I'm thinking about it, normally I would have had this done last night, but I didn't realize that the monsters also had specific levels too. Actually some of them were scenario specific. Okay. So now we've got all of that sorted out. These can go back in the box. I'm not sure how much I like this insert off shot, though. You may have seen it when I was doing the unboxing. We'll leave the core monsters. I'll stack those up a little bit differently. Okay. Then we'll give all the level 1 monsters a shuffle. For a brand new game like this, I usually like to run through setup just one more time on camera just to make sure I've got everything all sorted out here. I handled everything for the items and all of that. All right. Let's see. Chose the Explorer, took the matching card. On your player board, set the essence slider to 0, health and stamina to match the maxes. I did that. Let's see. Observe the marker symbol. Take the 3 markers that match. I did that. Set up item decks. We've got our 4 item decks. We've got apparel, artifacts, consumables, and weapons. Remaining level 2 and 3, those are in the box for the time being. Set up the monster deck, which I did all of that. Chosen scenario has an endgame tile. I didn't see an endgame tile for this scenario. Take all the non-scenario map tiles. We mixed those up. Took the bottom tile. That's what this one was. And now we start the first chapter. So now we flip over the monster card, and we flip over this chapter card, and we read the story here. Oh, actually, we can admire the art a little bit. That is some good-looking art. And then we've got the entrance. As we stepped into the dark, an uncanny gust of wind followed us in and continued on down through the wide and spacious halls, echoing incessantly. Our eyes, still blinking from the polar glare, adapted at last, and we could finally make out our surroundings. There was scant light, yet enough for us to discover ancient and complex corridors, halls, and rooms built by unknown hands eons ago. What craft erected these delicate walls and exquisite pillars that rose above the precisely detailed flooring of stone slabs beneath our feet? The whole space seemed to pulsate with a strange rhythm, faint and indistinct. As we embarked on our exploration of these subterranean ruins, the feeling of disquiet only continued to grow. The further we ventured in, the more it appeared that in some bizarre way, the place itself became aware of our presence, and we seemed to be alone no longer. The only effect here is that we placed the entry token, and I'm just going to check that. There doesn't look to be a goal there. So we place the entry token, which I need one of these. Actually, this looks like boats. Hopefully the entry token is in here somewhere. Not there. Hold on. You gotta be... Wait a minute. I was gonna say, you've got to be kidding me, but... Okay, you cannot possibly be telling me that the entry and exit tokens are missing in here. What was the rest of the player boards? They're not in here. Oh, never mind. They are. They're here. They're just in a different spot. There we go. Okay, so we place that right there. I assume there's something to explain where the first chapter will direct you to place the entry token. Okay. Take the top tile from the map tile deck, place it in the gaming area. Ignore this if we're in game setup, which we are. Place an entry token on the map tile's direction symbol. So it looks like the direction symbol should be down here. And then our space goes, and then our investigator token goes on it, presumably. Adjacent to or on top of it. So we'll place Kim right about there. Let's see, take the spawn rating and horror rating. Okay, take the spawn rating and the horror rating. So the spawn rating goes to 7. The horror rating goes to 4. And in order to advance the chapter, I would think there would be a direction on how to advance the chapter. Presumably it's going to be light the chapter spaces. At least that seems to be what I'm getting out of this. Let's see, maybe there's something in the guidebook that'll tell me more about that. Or do we just advance? We don't just advance straight away into the chapter, do we? Placed on or adjacent, and we'll need to resolve the conditions of each chapter. Okay. Alright, well, I think with that we're all set to get into this game, so now we're going to start. Our first turn, the first phase of the round is the Explorer phase. So we've got our 6 stamina that we can act with. which movement in this game is you can move orthogonally or diagonally for 1 stamina. I've got my player aid that I'll be keeping off shot. That's 1 stamina per space. So I think the first thing I want to do here is I want to try to find some weaponry. So in order to find any kind of firepower, I presumably need to end up either on a chest space, or I need to end up, let's see, there are map features here. So I either want to end up on a chest, or, yeah, I think I want to end up on a chest, but I want to end up by a chest, but that's going to cost me 3 stamina to do that, which will be, yeah, so draw 2, which means that collected from the top of any item deck. So if I spend 1, 2, 3 to move over here, that's 3 stamina, and then I have to be adjacent to it. Activate adjacent chest. Yep, so I will activate this chest right down here for 3 stamina. And I'll pick 2 cards from the weapon deck. So first card up is a precision scope. It's a modification. It looks like a modification. This weapon can target through obstacles. I'm trying to find a default weapon. Force alternator. Okay, this looks like it'll work. At a cost of 2 stamina, I can increase armor by 1. I increase armor and will by 1 for 2 rounds. Or reduce armor and will within range. That's within range, probably. This isn't the one I want to go to explain it. But I'm almost certain that this force alternator is going to be what I end up keeping. I just need to see if there's some way I can explain what these actually translate to. It's not on the player aid, naturally. And then I've also got an option for an arcane attack, but that costs me 2 stamina. And I presume that's within... Looks like that's a ranged attack I can make. Actually, that's range with both of these. So within range 3, I can either increase or reduce armor and will, or make an arcane attack using 1 black and 1 white die. So I will take the force alternator. That is the end of my round. So now we go into... So now phase 2 is the spawn phase. We don't have it. None of our spawn spaces have been destroyed, so I'll bring the dice tower in shot for the time being, and I've got the game die, which is a special D10, so we'll roll that for the spawn phase. Right. Okay, so we roll the game die. If it's less than the current spawn rating, so we want to roll low to not spawn. Right now our spawn rating is a 7. That's a 9, so naturally we're already going to be spawning a monster. Yep. So reset, so we spawn a monster. We've got a spawn space, we've got spawn spaces up here. So for our first monster we find a Saral. 3, 2, 2 health, and 4 stamina. Costs 3 stamina, a melee attack attacks with 2 and 2. When this monster is destroyed, it attacks 3 adjacent units. It writhes. With mortal pangs, the mines become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs and human gore imbued. So we'll get the marker for the Saral out. And I think I'm starting to see how these tokens should be organized. So need to go. Oh, those are the characters. Those are level 2s, it looks like. Yes. I'm also doing a little bit of reorganizing here on the fly. That's part of why I like getting these games out, so I can see how the storage solution, especially if they're used games, so I can see how that stands up. We've got the Sorrel right here. I'll get a black standee for that, or a black base, I should say. And that spawns. Place the monster card at the end of the monster queue. Note the maximum health value on its card. The spawn space nearest. So that's going to go up here because that's the spawn space that's nearest to us. Okay, we didn't reset the spawn rating, so now we roll to see if we have a horror event. Once again, we want to roll low here. Right now our horror rating is a 4, so we want to be below. So we want to be at 3 or below. Which that's a 3, so we reduce the horror rating by 1. Okay, and then in 4 the monsters move. So this will move 4 spaces toward us. 1, 2, 3, 4. Seems pretty simple, I would think. Okay. Now, back to us in the explorer phase. Okay, actually there's a goal of the game here. So progress through chapters until you reach an end game and resolve its victory conditions. Blocking chapter, the chapter card will tell you how to advance or place an exit token. Have you placed an exit token? All explorers have to exit. If neither, activate the chapter space. So the chapter space is the... So this is the chapter space right up here. It costs 2 stamina, I believe, to light the chapter space. So, actually, no, it costs 3 stamina. Unless we want to try to seal the... And we gain 3 essence for that. Actually, did we get an essence for... To gain item and restore 1 essence. So we should have 1 essence as well from activating this chest. And I presume there's a space there's a token in here to exhaust a chest. I'm just looking in here. Maybe there isn't. That doesn't seem logical to me, though, because you would, in theory, if you don't have a way to exhaust the chest, you could just sit on it and keep cycling through at the cost of stamina until you eventually get something you're after. But in our case, we already got the force alternators, so... Let's see, depending on where we move, could he reach us? If I want to start making a beeline for the chapter space, let's see, I could go 1, 2, 3. The problem with doing that is if I go 1, 2, 3 and end up here, the Sorrel could go 1, 2, 3. Actually, no, it couldn't attack me because it has to be in melee range. So maybe I do take a chance. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 stamina to light the chapter space. Yeah, I think that could work. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then 3 stamina to light the aforementioned chapter space. Is there another token for lighting the chapter space? Does not look like it from here. Unless there's something in here. Yep, actually there is an exhaust the chapter space, or light the chapter space, or destroy it. Was there 1, 2... Doesn't look like there's 1 for the chest, but there is 1 to light the chapter space, so that one's lit. We also gain, I think we gain 3 essence from that as well. So activate an unlit chapter space, yep. Okay, so we gain 3 more essence from that. Actually, does that cost? That might cost, actually, now that I look at it, so hold on a minute. Let me double check that, because that would change my entire turn if that's a cost, not a gain. For an unlit chapter, the activating explorer loses 3 stamina and 3 essence. Okay, so hold that thought. Yeah, that changes my entire turn. So I think instead, I'm going to move 1 for 1 stamina. Then I'm going to activate this chest right here for another 3 stamina, but that'll give me another essence. This time I'm going to take... This time we're going to look at an apparel and a consumable. So our choice for apparel is Ritual Cloak. Our attacks are arcane. If I remember some of the videos I've been watching, that's supposed to be a really strong effect. That's 2 will for that. And our consumable is an Armillary Sphere. 1 stamina and destroy this card to reduce monster threat by 3, or skip the horror phase for 1 turn by destroying it. Let me look at arcane attacks, but I feel like taking the Ritual Cloak is probably going to be a very strong... It's probably going to be very strong here. Like I said, I remember something about arcane attacks supposedly being very powerful. Let me see if there's anything in here that explains that. Let's see here. Probably nothing about targeting, monster behavior. It might just end up meaning that I can actually that there are certain monsters that I can actually target. And of course there's nothing here to tell me about that unless Oh, and actually there is an icon here. There's an icon reference on the player aid, because that's moderately helpful. But there's still nothing here that actually explains. I would think it's under... I still think it's probably under combat somewhere. Attacks are either normal or arcane. If an effect increases arcane attack rolls, that's still not telling me what arcane... Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask our friendly neighborhood Google machine about what arcane attacks mean in Machina Arcana. So bear with me a second. Let's see. That's still not explaining what an arcane attack actually is. It's hit from an arcane attack. Yeah, we got that, but we still haven't explained what... Oh, looks like it changes the blocking attribute. Okay, so for normal attacks, the blocking attribute is armor. For arcane attacks, the blocking attribute is will. Okay, that's good to know. So I think, especially looking at this Sorrel, the armor is 3, the will's 2. So I am going to take the Ritual Cloak. That way I've got arcane attacks. Because theoretically, will should be a little bit easier to hit. Should be a little bit easier to hit on than... So now I've used this chest and this chest. But the idea behind taking the Ritual Cloak is most of these enemies will be lower. So that was 3 more stamina, and I'm going to move 5, 6. I want to continue to make the Sorrel come to me, because I think that's probably a better idea. So now we're into phase 2. We're rolling for the spawn rating. Once again, we want to be lower than a 7 here. Which that's a 1, so we'll decrease the horror rating by 1 to a 6. And we want to roll lower than a 3 so we don't have a horror event. That's a 5, so we reset that and we do get a horror event. So our horror event here... Reaching tentacles. We wandered through the corridors warily, treading carefully so as to avoid noise. Perhaps we were too tired to notice the tentacles that quietly began to reach out through the symbols on the ground, inching toward our feet. By the time we did, it was too late to resist their slimy grips of iron, and our struggling forms were dragged toward a dark and foreboding place. When it enters play, teleport explorers to their nearest spawn space. Well, that's great. So I end up all the way up here, which actually might be helpful for me in terms of trying to deal with the Sorrel. So we got our horror event, and now the monsters act. So it's going to take him 3 stamina to get to me. 1, 2, 3. And then he doesn't have enough stamina left to attack. So I think that brings us back to the... Yep, that brings us back to our turn. Now, for the force alternator when I'm attacking, because it's got range, does it mean I have to be out of... Does it mean... Let's see, actually those force alternators, all of those ignore obstacles, so presumably if I'm attacking, I can still be in melee range even with a ranged weapon. Let me just double check that, but that seems logical that I would be able to attack. I just want to see about that. Can use weapons to attack. See attack. Let's see. Okay. Well, it doesn't say anything about that, so we'll reset our stamina to 6. Actually, the Force Alternator already is an arcane attack, so I will spend 2 stamina. The Sorrel's got 2 health, so I'll actually use that to attack. So we have special dice that we use for this. We want to get over top of the blocking attribute, which in this case is Will. So that's going to be a 2 for the Sorrel. That's a 1, so we don't hit it. Then we'll run it back. Excuse me. Actually, let's reduce that by 1 for 2 rounds for the Sorrel. Then we'll run it back. Which this time we're able to hit the Sorrel, so it takes 1 wound. Which ones are the wound tokens? Okay. These are the wounds. So the Sorrel's got 1 wound on it. Now we'll see if we spawn anything. So this is we want this to be lower than a 6. Which is a 7, of course. So we're spawning another monster. Joining the party now we've got a Thrall. 3 armor, 4 will. So actually having our attacks being arcane is now a problem. 2 health, 5 stamina. 2 stamina and melee to invoke the horror event. This monster can move through walls. We all go a little mad sometimes. Oh, that's great. So now we need to find the Thrall. Now the question I have here is, since we're on the horror space, or since we're on the spawn space already, since we're on the spawn space already, there are no spawn spaces on the tile. So what I want to know now is if we're on the spawn space, does it still spawn? Well, it probably would still spawn, but does it spawn adjacent to the space, or does it go to the other spawn space? I think for the time being, to keep things moving here, I'm going to send him to the nearest spawn space. Alright, then we're rolling to see if we have a horror event. Once again, we want to be below a 4. We are below a 4, so no horror event. Then we're going to have problems because the Sorrel is now attacking us. It's got 3 stamina, so it will spend 3 of those to attack. And that's a normal attack, so our armor is a 3. Which 2, 3, 4, so we take 1 damage from the Thrall. And that's its only attack. The Thrall is moving 5 toward us. Thankfully, it can't get through these walls. So it's moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Delightful. Okay, so the Thrall is still under an armor and will reduction. So we are going to spend 2 stamina to attack him. We need to get over top of a 2 will. Which that's a 3 will, so the Thrall will actually take 2 damage, will actually have taken its 2nd damage, and that will be enough to destroy it. Thankfully. And then do we gain anything for killing the monster? Resolve any bits when this monster is destroyed. Restore 1 essence. Okay. So now we're up to 3 essence, which means now we could come light the chapter space. But I think going straight for the chapter space right now is kind of a bad idea because we've got the Thrall coming at us. And I'd really rather not take a Thrall shot to the face. That seems like a bad idea. Let's see. He'd have to get within melee range, so if we end up here, 2, 3, 4, 5, he would be short. Let's see, that would cost me 2 stamina to attack. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could get down here, and the horror rating just reset again. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make the plan here, the rough plan here is to make the Thrall come to us. But first we need to roll for everything else. So in the spawn phase, we want to be below a 7, so of course we roll an 8, which means we get another new monster. So here we find a Buopoth. 2s all across the board except for 5 stamina. 2 stamina and in melee attacks 1 and 1. Okay. And then 2 stamina and melee range attacks with 1 and 1. When this monster is hit, it moves 2 spaces toward its nearest spawn space. And when it enters play, the monster moves up to 2 spaces. It seemed shy at first, before we learned its true intentions. So we'll get the Buopoth out. Get another standee for that. And the nearest spawn space is naturally right about there. Then we roll to see if we have a horror event. A 7 we do. So that cycles to the bottom. And then we get a new horror event. So our new horror event. Invigorating reprisal. The incessant tide of monstrosities never falters or ceases. There is an eternal horde of terror throwing itself at us. If one is slain, another stronger one merely takes its place. We are exhausted and at our collective wits' end as we wade through this ocean of horror. What now? No, it cannot be. A sudden pulse throbbed from the walls and invigorated the enemies we had managed to wound. What will become of us? When it comes into play, restore 1 health to monsters, except everybody is at full right now. And also the Buopoth should have moved 2 spaces when it entered play. So now into the monster phase, we activate the Thrall first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to end up 1 space short. The Buopoth, however, won't have that problem, and in fact, he'll be able to attack us twice. He needs to get over top of our defense, which right now is a... Our defense right now is a 3 on a black and a white die. That's a 1, so nothing on that attack. Then for this one, that one will get over the top of us, so that'll deal us 1 damage. Which we could lose that as essence, but I don't really feel like doing that here. Now, coming back to our turn, I'd like to see if I can drive this Buopoth away. Actually, the better plan might be to try to deal with this thrall first. So, I think for my first 2 stamina, I'm going to spend to reduce its armor and reduce the thrall's armor and will by 1 for 2 rounds. So now we need to get over top of a 3. Then I will... Actually, is the better plan now just to run away? Because where could I get to? He would need to be in melee range to attack me, so if I can make him spend at least 3 stamina, and he can move through units, but he can't move through obstacles. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. He would still be able to invoke the horror event because he would still be able to get to me, which I think is probably fine here. So we'll go, actually, if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, would he still be able to get to me? 1, 2, 3, yeah, he still would be able to get to me. So actually, I think the better play here is to not use the Force Alternator just yet. What I'll do instead is I mostly want to try to create as much space between me and this thrall as I can. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I need to figure out a way that I can get out of melee range so the thrall can't invoke the horror event. Which, well, granted the horror event right now is pointless because both monsters are at full health. So I'm more worried about creating... I actually should probably be more worried about creating distance from this Buopoth than creating distance from the thrall. Because invoking the horror event right now doesn't do anything for the monsters since they're already at full health. So I think I will worry about creating distance from the Buopoth. Let's see if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the Buopoth wouldn't be able to get to me, I don't think. Actually, I would need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So no, the Buopoth would end up 1 short. And that's the one I'm worried about. So now you need to reset the horror rating. So now we're into the spawn phase. That's a 9, so we're spawning another monster. Yikes. Our next monster that we're spawning is a Bayaki. 5 armor, 2 will. Good thing our attacks are arcane. 2 health, 4 stamina. Costs 2 stamina, and melee range attack with 3 black dice. Gross. When any monster is destroyed, this monster teleports to that monster's position. I thought of the empty shell of a beetle and the soft loam of rotting earth. That is very delightful. We're getting the Bayaki out, and presumably we can pick either... Theoretically, hold on. Some of these monster tokens turned on their sides in my storage solution. Presumably now I could pick either... Yeah, I could pick either spawn space, since they're both equidistant from me. I'm going to pick this one just because it would probably make more sense for them to try to come at me using kind of a pincer strategy. Alright, so the Thrall is moving 1, 2, 3, and because it got within melee range, it'll spend 2 stamina to invoke the horror. Actually, we need to roll for the horror event first. We want to be under a 4. Which that is exactly a 4, so we have a new horror event. Hopefully this isn't that catastrophic, but let's see what we get here. Trapped contraptions. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here. Ah, the references to Dante's Inferno. Not a mere warning. for each step brings these trespassers closer to death as the unseen glyphs above faintly glowed ominously. 3 times. When an action space is activated, arcane attack with three black and a white die on the explorers. Yikes. Okay, well, thankfully that horror event isn't that bad either. Well, unless we get up to the chapter space. So it's moving 1, 2, 3, 4. And actually, the Thrall doesn't have enough stamina to invoke the horror event, so we're fine there. The Buopoth is moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the Bayaki moves 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, back to our turn. I think our first order of business should be wiping out this Thrall. So we'll start off with 2 stamina to reduce his armor and will by 1 each for 2 rounds. Then we'll spend 2 more stamina to attack it. See if we can put a little damage on it now that the healing horror event is gone. That's a 2 exactly, which is no luck there. And now I've got a problem, because if I try to move away from the Thrall, a great distance from the Buopoth, I move theoretically right into the Bayaki. Because the Thrall will be able to invoke the horror event twice. But I do think... Let's see, the Buopoth costs 2 stamina. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I move here for my last 2 stamina, it will end up short, as will the Bayaki. 1, 2, 3. And then the Bayaki would need 2 stamina to attack, so it wouldn't be able to. But the Bayaki would probably be my first kill priority, so I think that's what we'll go with here. Rolling to see if we spawn another monster. We've very much gotten bum rushed here in this game. That's an 8, so we're already at the monster limit on the tile of 4. Our next monster coming out is Cthulhu. 4 armor, 3 will, 1 health, 1 stamina. Within range with 1 stamina, if there's a wounded monster, restore 1 health to monsters. Otherwise, arcane attack with 3 dice on the explorers. It's immobile. Such a sacred place, this land of nightmares. Oh, does Cthulhu bring back memories as well from my days in World of Warcraft? I didn't do much with Encourage, with the 40-man version of Encourage. I did a little bit of 20. I mostly went back for mount farming in my World of Warcraft days, just to get all the Kiraji battle tanks. I never did get the black Kiraji battle tank. I did actually manage to build the submarine, or the aquamarine Kiraji battle tank. I don't know why I've got submarine on the brain. The aquamarine Kiraji battle tank. Anywho, I'm rambling on that now. Horror phase. We want to be below a 4 again. That's a 2, so we reduce the horror rating. Alright, so now we're at the full limit of monsters. Let me see what happens when we're at the monster limit. Okay, so we just increased monster threat by 1, which is the tile up here. Okay, so now the monsters act. 1, 2, and it'll spend 2 stamina the Thrall will spend 2 stamina to invoke the horror event, which essentially resets the action space event. Then the Buopoth is moving. It's got 5 stamina. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the Bayaki is moving 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have enough stamina to invoke the attack. And then Cthulhu, yikes. Does that just attacks everything on the tile, I think, doesn't it? That's sure what I'm getting out of that. Yeah. That looks to be what I'm getting out of that. So it's got that's an arcane attack, so our will is a 2. So we've got problems here. Yeah, that's a 5, so we definitely take damage from that. Now we need to do some serious killing here. But unfortunately, we're surrounded. Yeah, I think we're going to try to take out the Bayaki first. We've got an arcane attack on that. The block there is a 2. Which the Bayaki takes 1 damage. Then we'll run the attack back. Bayaki has been destroyed, and we gain an essence back, so we're up to 4, which means we probably will have to lose at least some of our essence here. But at least we managed to take probably the most dangerous monster. Well, I don't know if it's the most dangerous monster, but we definitely managed to take something dangerous off the board. And then we definitely can't create space. We can't create enough space to get away from the Buopoth from an attack this round, so I think we're actually just going to move and try to go after Cthulhu, because that arcane attack is going to kill us very quickly if we let it. And unfortunately, we might have to let it. Well, there might not be anything we can do here. But first we roll. But first we're in the monster phase. We're in the spawn phase. That's an 8, so we're spawning another monster anyway. We can't get away from these. So we're spawning a Yadithian, 2 armor, 4 will, 1 health, 5 stamina. 2 stamina and a range of 3. Arcane attack with 3 white dice. When this monster is destroyed, attacker gains an item. When this monster is the only monster, it is ethereal. I want to see the light leave your eyes. Well, that's moderately depressing. But welcome to anything to do with the Cthulhu mythos. It is very depressing here. Yowza. And our problems just continue to multiply here, folks. We are very much near the end of this scenario. So now we see if we have a horror event. At least I believe if we roll, let's see, greater than or equal to the current spawn rating. Okay, yeah, so we definitely want to be rolling low here. Horror event, less than a 3. Which that's a 4, so we reset that and we get a new horror event. Our horror event. Haste through harm. They think they're winning. They seriously think they can defeat us. What the foolish humans fail to understand is that through pain, we find power. When any monster is hit, monsters move up to 1 space. Oh, that's great. Okay, well, the Thrall. The Thrall is going to move 1, 2, and invoke the horror event again, which just says when monsters are hit, they can move up to 1 space. The Buopoth is going to move 1, 2, and it will attack us with 1 and 1. Our armor block is a 2. Let's see, that's a 3, so we will take that as an essence damage. Cthulhu has got its arcane attack from there's no wounded monster. So it's got its arcane attack. Once again, our will is a 2. Which that is, I believe if it equals that, it's enough to come over it's enough to attack that. If the attack roll is less than the target's blocking attribute, skip further steps. Okay, so I believe Okay, if the final result is equal to or greater than the blocking attribute, the attacker hits, blockers hit, so we both suffer a damage. And well, it wouldn't make sense for us to hit Cthulhu, so we will take that as essence. Then the Adithian is moving 1, 2, 3... Actually, hold on. It's got an arcane attack from range 3, so it can move 1, 2, and hit me from here. Yikes. Another arcane attack. And, yeah, that's enough to come over the top. We'll take that as essence damage. So, this scenario is just about over, to be perfectly honest, folks. But let's see what we can do with that. Yeah. The board filled up very quickly on us because that evil D10 did nasty things to us. Let's see, with 6 stamina, what do we want to do here? And the Thrall's reduction to armor and will is long gone. So, what to do? Is the focus on just creating space here and trying to stall? I haven't been paying attention to her special ability. That when she's adjacent to a wall, she increases her attack rolls by 1. Yeah, I think we just try to create some space here. No, I don't think we can afford to create space. Because, if 3 of these attacks hit, we're just destroyed. So I think... Because Cthulhu can get to us no matter what. The problem is, this Adithian is going to be in the way. So, do we just try to go after the Adithian? With a range of 2... yeah. I think we'll spend 2 stamina to do a regular attack. Well, do I even risk a regular attack on the Adithian? Because the white die only has 2s on it. If I had a 3 on it, I'd be warmer to that idea. I think instead I'm going to spend 2 stamina to increase my armor and will by 1. Then I want to create some space. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's the best I'm going to do here. And then we're rolling again for Spawn and Horror. First, the Spawn rating. That's a 7. So since we've got 4 monsters, we increase the monster threat by 1. Then checking the Horror event. That's a 3, so we reduce that. Then the monsters move. The Thrall moves 1, 2, and invokes the Horror event twice. Actually, invokes the Horror event, which says when a monster's hit, it moves 1 space, so nothing there. Then the Buopoth is going to move 1, 2, 3, and it will be able to hit us. And so it will attack us with... it'll attack us with a black and a white die. Our armor this time is a 3. Which that's a 4, so we take another damage. We'll take that as essence this time, but we're in a lot of trouble. Cthulhu gets an arcane attack, since there's no wounded monsters. And our will is still a 3, but I'm pretty sure 3 white dice is going to get Cthulhu over the top of that. A 4, yep, that'll do it. We don't have any essence to lose, so we've got 1 health left. And then the Adithian, can it get within... It can go 1, and it'll attack twice. So yeah, this is likely to just be the end of the scenario. Yeah. That's a 4. Our will was a 3. So that is the end of the scenario. Kim Richards bites the dust after getting absolutely overwhelmed by the enemy forces. And that will do it for this playthrough of Machina Arcana. Now, for a first playthrough, I actually didn't have too many problems with the rules. I wasn't exactly clear on what the arcane attack was, but I do kind of like having the additional strategy of, okay, if we can get... Theoretically, arcane attacks are supposed to be stronger. Unfortunately, the monster deck in this case was determined to kind of put paid to that theory for us and say, yeah, no. Your strategy of going for arcane attacks, Phoenix, we're just going to nix that and give you all high will monsters. But sometimes that's how it goes in this world. I actually really enjoyed this game, and I was a little bit worried about the rules overhead coming into this one, but once you understand a lot of the symbology and how things flow, this is a game I could see doing a lot with on the channel. And I'm going to be thinking very hard about backing the next Machina Arcana Kickstarter when that comes out. So I think I've definitely found a keeper in the collection. Anyway, as you can probably hear, I'm starting to clean up, so let's wrap this video up. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel. Monday, we will be continuing Metal Gear Mondays with Metal Gear Solid, the board game, as we are going to be looking to continue our infiltration in Shadow Moses Island. This time, we're headed for the nuclear warhead storage building. On Wednesday, we've got another new debut on the channel, as we're going to take a break from monsters and nuclear weapons as we hit the links for a round of Dice Nuts Golf by Dice Nuts Games. As for Mystical Munchies, Saturday, we'll be continuing out of the World of Warcraft New Flavors of Azeroth with the side, Eri Chibata. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Excuse me. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.